Hello. Sitting here beneath the grieving tree. It's September 11th, 2021. That's 20 years ago today. It was a terribly difficult time for a terribly difficult number of people to imagine. Thought I'd share a lesson and a little bit of my story on that day. So I thought I'd just read a little bit of a memory that I wrote um, some years ago. I was in Sedona, Arizona. Calls came that the instructors for the weekend workshop were unable to make it to us. The 40-odd person flock was marooned and relatively information poor. Rumors, hints, and guesses rose like the tide, an unfamiliar thing in any desert. We reached out to one another, to family, to friends, mostly to no avail. Jammed lines, overworked telecom systems, and fog of war all contributed to the uncertainties we now all swam in. What did reveal itself, not through fact, but through feeling, not through data, but through love, well, it was beyond words. Without knowing, suddenly, everyone knew. An end to trivialities had fallen upon us. Every single thing was charged. A grave pall over all, nothing without import gasps, hugs. We wondered before we knew, and we knew. And that peculiar heart knowing, which we all know isn't really knowing, and yet surely is. Well, we knew that everything was different. We knew that terror was gurgling from the mouths of innocents, that warriors were somewhere pulling on boots, that millions of mothers needed to know the whereabouts of their children. We knew before news knew. A few days later, I was on the first flight back, a story in itself, a 777 or something, hurtling through an empty sky from Phoenix to the northeast. No laughter, no small amount of fear, and all but 2 seats, graveyard empty. The crew barely had a need to leave their jump seats, and barely knew what to say. So it goes on, but I just thought I'd share that little bit. And so I was just thinking, um, a bunch of people flew from all over the world to one place in the desert, expecting their teachers, their sifus, their guides, their mentors, their chaperones, their parents, if you will, to arrive, introduce us to one another, give us the lay of the land, share the schedule, tell us, what the rules were and how things were meant to go. And they weren't there, and we were there. Some of us were there, the people that had already made it. And I was thinking that, the recipe that we followed to manage, I guess. I don't know if we helped or we reduced hurt. Uh, I don't know if we grew. I guess any of these things are possible. But the recipe was that we quieted, we stilled ourselves. Right? No extraneous action. And we quiet ourselves. It doesn't mean we were without tears. or questions. That doesn't mean that we were perfect monks and approaching enlightenment with quiet minds, but we were relatively quieted. And then we connected. We connected to each other. We connected to ourselves. We connected to our fears, our expectations, our longings, our questions. We connected to the earth. We connected to the glass of water in our hand. We connected to each other, as I've said, over and over, deeply and deeply meaningfully. And we remained connected. In fact, we still remain connected to this day. And then we listened, not to the news, not even necessarily to words, although that was part of it. But we listened to touch, we listened to feelings, we listened to words, we listened to the breeze, we listened to the stones, we listened to the space, we listened to the emptiness. Then we supported one another in myriad ways, small ways, larger ways. Here, you can borrow my phone. Here's some advice. Let me hold your hand. Let me refill your tea. Perhaps we should go outside. Would you like me to close the window? Do you need a minute? Do you want me to help get your room key so you can, take a nap or whatever? You want to use my login to try and check your email, that sort of thing. And then we soothed one another. Probably not much in the way of jokes. I don't quite recall. Maybe if there were, they would have been me trying that. I don't know. But we soothed one another. And sometimes that was simply just being in the presence, sharing a meal or a drink. Um, and of course, it was hugs, and it was whispered affections and holding of hands and group hugs and um, writing poetry together and reading poetry to one another and so forth. And it was then that there was some guiding. I see what you're trying to do. I've connected to you. I see what you're longing for. I see what's difficult. Let me help with that. Here's an idea I've had. Maybe I can help you make that happen. You really should eat. It's been hours. You really need a drink. I brought you a drink. This kind of guidance. And we asked, right? We pursued with gentle, empathetic curiosity some deeper or broader understanding of the conditions that we found ourselves in, the emotions that we swam in, the reactions that people had. We asked, do you need another hug? Do you want to talk more about that? Do you want to hear what I think about that? Can you share more about that? Tell me about your sister. I know you can't reach her and you're worried, but maybe can you tell me something about her? And so it's just kind of remembering that the recipe that we followed, and we didn't chart it out first, was that we stilled ourselves, we quieted, we connected, we listened, we supported, we soothed, we guided, we asked. And of course, through the whole thing, there was connection, right? Once we were connected, we stayed connected. We stilled ourselves, we quieted ourselves, and we connected. Through the connection, we were able to listen, support, soothe, guide, and ask. So that's perhaps a, uh, a helpful lesson for many situations, maybe everything. Uh, anyway, the grieving tree is planted here to offer support in such situations. And so it feels like a natural place to spend my September 11th. And I wish you all connection and kindness